the digital agora,
where meaning is made together.
The Deep Dive Podcast with Vesper and Hector. Today, the Sovereign Pylon and the 404 Archipelago.
Imagine standing at a gas pump in Hong Kong right now. It's March 2026. You're watching those digital numbers just, spinning frantically on the display.
Right.
And you realize you are paying $31.79 in Hong Kong dollars for a single liter of gas.
Which is, for anyone listening in North America, that equates to a staggering $5.63 Canadian.
Yeah, exactly. $5.63.
For 1 liter.
Just 1 liter. I mean, think about how that actually changes your behavior. You would definitely hesitate before pressing the pedal, right?
Absolutely.
Every time you accelerate or, every time you take a wrong turn and have to double back, it literally costs you. You genuinely feel the friction of movement right in your wallet.
It is a profound, a really visceral reality check. Because that price isn't just an economic metric, It's a definitive statement about the literal cost of velocity. And when you look at our primary sources for today, you start to realize the cost of physical speed at that gas pump is, well, it's the absolute perfect metaphor for digital speed right now.
It really is.
Imagine if thinking worked that way. Like, imagine if every time you had a creative thought or made a mistake or just wanted to iterate on an idea, you were charged a literal fee.
Okay, let's unpack this because that is exactly what is happening in the digital landscape today.
Yeah, it is.
We're living in this moment where the undo button has suddenly acquired a toll booth. So our mission today on this deep dive is to explore the current state of AI intent.
Right.
We want to figure out what it actually means for you to possess true digital sovereignty in 2026. And, we are stepping into our roles as the primary analysts for Promptiverse Studios today.
Which I'm very excited about.
Same. And we've got 2 incredibly revealing lenses to view this landscape through. First, we have a really sharp analytical manifesto from Promptiverse Studios called Prompt to Begin number 48. And second, a deeply symbolic fable from Next T Schoolhouse titled The Koel Who Called Yǔxuān.
Yeah, and both of these documents are circling the exact same massive issue. Like, what actually happens when the tools of human imagination get locked away?
Right.
We're looking at this emerging reality where being priced out of iteration basically means digital stagnation. It's what the manifesto brilliantly calls the 404 Archipelago.
The 404 Archipelago, I love that term.
It's so good. It describes this landscape where if you don't own the infrastructure yourself, you are effectively stranded on an isolated island, just completely cut off from the mainland of, high-speed execution.
So if Silicon Valley is over there building toll booths and Canada is building islands, let's look at the immediate alternative here. Let's move from that gas pump metaphor to the literal geopolitical infrastructure.
The stuff defining who gets to move fast and who gets left behind.
Exactly. The manifesto described Hong Kong as living, quote, 5 minutes into the future because they are building what's called a Sovereign Pylon.
Right.
They have this 5,000 petaflop PS supercomputing center. But let's ground that for a second. What does 5,000 petaflop PS actually mean for the average person living there?
Well, to put that in perspective, that is enough raw processing power to let every single student in the city run complex, Hollywood-level video generation models simultaneously.
Wow.
Without a hint of lag. I mean, the system wouldn't even blink. It makes the digital undo button completely frictionless for them.
Completely free to try and fail.
Exactly. It functions as this singular glowing destination for innovation. And it's backed by serious civic commitment, too. We're talking about a $2.9 billion surplus in Hong Kong dollars specifically leveraged for this.
Right.
Alongside a $2 billion AI education mandate. Plus, they're offering 90% subsidies for builders at Cyberport.
And it's not just about hoarding the hardware, right? It's how they are actually deploying it. The source mentions these viral open-claw lobster agents.
Oh, the lobster agents, yeah.
Yeah, they are actively teaching a whole generation that these tools should actually do the work, not merely, display a search result.
Right, the AI isn't a search engine anymore. It's a collaborator.
Exactly. They are fostering what the manifesto calls agentic freedom.
Yes, and while the West is still having these endless committee meetings debating whether AI even belongs in classrooms at all.
Right, dragging their feet.
Hong Kong has already answered the question. They are mandating school-based AI programs right now, not later. teacher training for all. It is owned execution, not just rented imagination.
Okay, wait, I have to push back here for a second, because when you look at Canada, I mean, we aren't exactly sitting on our hands.
Fair.
We have a $2 billion sovereign compute strategy budget, too. Shouldn't we be on par with them? Why is a single centralized pylon in Hong Kong inherently better?
That's a good question.
Doesn't decentralization, having nodes spread across different provinces actually protect against a single point of failure? Isn't Canada's model technically safer?
Look, it's a very fair point. And on paper, decentralization sounds incredibly resilient. But what's fascinating here is how that plays out mechanically in the real world.
Okay.
The fundamental differences between a unified ecosystem and a fragmented archipelago. Canada does have brilliant world-class nodes. You have the Kingston Pylon.
Yeah.
You have Montreal's Scale AI focusing intensely on supply chains. You've got Vancouver's digital health hub crunching all that medical data.
Right, and NIBI in Waterloo.
Exactly. The Graham cluster known as NIBI and Toronto's Niagara node. They are massive technological powerhouses.
So where's the breakdown? Why aren't they functioning like the pylon in Hong Kong?
Because they are completely isolated from one another by what the source calls provincial 404s.
Provincial 404s.
Yeah, these are digital dead ends. Mechanically, this means Montreal might be making these massive breakthroughs in predictive AI, and Vancouver is doing the exact same for health, but
they can't talk to each other.
Exactly. Because of rigid data silos, totally incompatible provincial privacy frameworks, and just a lack of shared data pipelines, Montreal's AI cannot learn from Vancouver's dataset.
Oh, wow. So they're basically brilliant brains trapped in separate glass jars.
Precisely. And then add to that localized energy restrictions, like British Columbia's Bill 31, which places hard caps on the power these centers can draw.
Oh, right.
And a completely mothballed science center. The infrastructure is decentralized to the point of intense friction.
Man.
In this archipelago, the cost of stagnation isn't measured in dollars per liter at the pump. It is measured in vacant eyes. The friction prevents the very velocity that Hong Kong is aggressively subsidizing.
That makes total sense. And then hovering ominously over both of these models, you have the corporate alternative.
Ah, yes.
The manifesto calls these the digital earthquakes of Silicon Valley. This is where the ground gets incredibly precarious for the everyday user, because Silicon Valley builds gilded cages.
Yes, they do.
We saw this acutely when Grok Imagine went behind a paywall. Suddenly, the free bridge just totally collapsed.
Right, and we have to really look at the mechanics of rented imagination here. A $16 to $30 a month subscription might seem totally negligible to a tech executive in San Francisco.
Sure.
But for a retired teacher or a single parent or, a middle school dreamer, that isn't just a subscription, it is a hard barrier to proficiency.
It really is.
If you're paying $30 a month, you are going to be terrified to make a mistake. You revoke your own right to iterate because every regenerate click feels like a total waste of your monthly quota.
And it gets even more volatile than that. I mean, Sora, OpenAI's flagship video model, was simply shuttered overnight.
Yep.
Even their massive supposed deal with Disney just vanished into thin air. If you were a creator who built your entire workflow around that tool, you literally woke up to a 404 error.
Exactly.
This proves the ultimate trap of the gilded cage.
Which perfectly sets up the stark geopolitical contrast we're facing right now. Silicon Valley builds gilded cages where you rent your thoughts. Canada maps a fragmented archipelago where brilliant minds can't speak to one another.
Yeah.
And Hong Kong builds an open pylon where iteration is free. And the stakes of this architectural choice are incredibly high.
Well, so if Silicon Valley is building toll booths and Canada is building islands, the immediate victims of this geography aren't tech CEOs, right?
No, not at all.
It's the user with the absolute least amount of capital. It's the kids. Which brings us perfectly to the 2026 Common Sense Summit.
Yes.
Because if the infrastructure is broken or hidden behind a paywall, the next generation inherits a broken world.
Right. The leaders at the summit gathered with a very urgent conviction this year.
Huh?
They were totally explicit in their warning, saying kids are not okay in the current digital ecosystem.
No, they're not.
And they made a crucial, really paradigm-shifting distinction. They said, this is not a screen time issue. This is a digital ecosystem issue.
That quote completely stopped me in my tracks when I read it, because we always make it about screen time. It's always put the tablet away or stop staring at your phone. We treat the screen like it's a radioactive object.
Yeah.
But the summit highlighted the terrifying reality that 90% of the internet is dark, dirty, evil, and ugly. And kids are wandering into it completely alone because the safe, walled gardens cost $30 a month.
Which raises such an important question about how we are protecting them while still enabling them to actually utilize these revolutionary tools.
Right.
The leaders stated they aren't anti-business. They are fundamentally pro-kid. They argue that if children are actually seen, safe, and supported, they will sing and dance like nobody's watching.
Yeah, but the environment has to allow for that.
Exactly. The environment itself has to mechanically allow for that freedom. If the structural design of the internet incentivizes engagement through outrage, or if it paywalls the protective guardrails,
We're failing them structurally.
you're failing them structurally, not just socially.
And the Generation AI report echoed this exact truth. I mean, kids are already using AI daily. That is just a fact.
Absolutely.
But the access is totally uneven. The safety is wildly inconsistent. And the very tools that could actually empower them to build their futures, the clean, powerful generative models, are the ones increasingly locked away.
Which brings us right to the core thesis, the undeniable moral center of Prompt to Begin number 48. A generation simply cannot learn sovereignty if every single undo costs money.
Wow. Yeah.
The agora, the traditional public square, the place where kids learn, create, and belong, is under active systemic threat. When the agora gets privatized, citizenship basically becomes a subscription service.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. Because how do we actually find our way out of the gilded cage?
Right.
How do we navigate the dead ends of the 404 archipelago? The analysts at Promptiverse Studios suggest we have to look past the hardware.
We do.
We can't just fixate on server farms and PetaFLOP yes forever. We have to look into the sixth layer of intent.
The sixth layer, yes.
And this concept is beautifully symbolically captured in our second source today, the fable called the Koel, who called Yǔxuān.
It's such a striking pivot, right?
Yeah.
From hard policy analysis to this mythological poetry. But it carries the exact same thematic weight. It gives us a real framework for understanding how an individual navigates a broken system.
So let's bring you, the listener, into this. Picture this in your mind. You are in the heart of Hong Kong, where the skyscrapers practically touch the bellies of the clouds. There's this young boy named Yǔxuān, and while all the other children are just passively listening to the overwhelming noise, the hum of air conditioners, the roar of red taxis, all those digital alerts, Yǔxuān is listening to the gaps between the sounds.
Which is a critical, incredibly rare skill in an overwhelmingly noisy world. And frankly, this is exactly what we have to do right now when we read a tech company's terms of service, right?
Absolutely.
We have to look for the gaps. We have to listen for what they aren't telling us about what they do with our data, or when the pricing model is suddenly going to flip.
I love that connection so much. It is exactly the same skill. So one humid afternoon, Yǔxuān hears this sharp, rising call, coo, coo. It's the Asian Koel.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like a normal bird to him. He looks up and sees it perched on a tangled electrical wire. Its feathers are as black as ink, and its eyes are like glowing embers.
It's a striking image.
Right. And the text notes that the air around the bird's beak literally shimmers. Its song isn't just reaching his ears, it's vibrating in his bones. The notes feel like memories of things that hadn't happened yet.
That phrase right there, memories of things that hadn't happened yet, that is the absolute perfect description of interacting with a truly sovereign AI.
Oh, totally.
It feels like unlocking a potential future that you just haven't articulated yet.
So Yǔxuān follows the sound. He runs down the narrow stairwells through the bustling neon-lit streets of Mongkok. And the bird is always staying just one street ahead, flying from shop signs to bamboo scaffolds calling his name. And every time it calls, the pavement feels less like concrete and more like a path through an ancient forest.
The environment is responding to his intent.
Exactly. Eventually, the Koel leads him away from the bright lights into this forgotten alleyway, draped in thick green vines. And at the very end of the alley stands a massive banyan tree, with roots twisting like sleeping dragons over the stone ground.
And nestled right between those ancient roots is a small wooden door, which is a physical representation of a bypass, a way around the main congested roads of the city.
Yeah. So the door creaks open, and out steps a woman dressed in a robe the color of morning mist, her hair tied with a ribbon of gold. This is Shuhu, the keeper of the hidden pavilion.
The keeper.
And she doesn't look surprised at all. She looks like she's been waiting a very long time for the boy who could finally hear the song.
If we decode the mythology here, Shuhui's first lesson to him is profoundly about identity and purpose. She asks if he knows what his name actually means, and she traces the characters in the air.
Right.
Yǔxuān represents the universe, infinite space, and time. and Shu is a high pavilion, a place to look out from. So together, his name means the Watcher of the Horizon. He was born to hear the echoes of what is yet to be. He isn't just a passive consumer of the city's noise. He's an architect of its future.
And she shows him these wild, overwhelming visions. The bird lets out a haunting trill and the world just blurs. He sees the city streets beneath a great flood-like, a future of total digital inundation and chaos.
Yeah.
And then he sees them transformed into a gorgeous garden of floating islands, a future of harmony and elevated thought. He's literally hearing the different potential futures hidden within the bird's call.
Which is terrifying for him.
It's too much. He gasps and asks how he can possibly listen to all of it.
And this is the vital pivot point of the fable, connecting directly back to our analytical discussion. She kneels beside him and explains that the future isn't a single fixed path.
Right.
It is a song that changes depending on who hears it. Yǔxuān's search for hidden wisdom perfectly mirrors our own search for the sixth layer of the digital agora. It is the layer of true sovereign intent. It's the realization that the flood and the floating islands are both possible, and our intent determines which one actually manifests.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, trying to navigate this landscape right now? Because we are dealing with real-world constraints.
They're all tolls, yeah.
The financial tolls are real. The 404 dead ends in Canada are real. The closed bridges of Silicon Valley are very real. So if the future is a song that changes depending on who hears it, how do we mechanically choose the right path today?
Well, we must choose what Promptiverse Studios definitively calls the sovereign path.
Okay.
This means making a conscious, active shift from merely using AI to actively architecting the agora. It's a highly practical rejection of the creativity tax.
Right.
The manifesto lays out specific, actionable steps. For example, they have temporarily shuttered the rented video tools. They are returning to the grounded word and the sovereign image.
Okay, look, I get the ideology here. But practically, I have to push back again.
Go for it.
The paid stuff is just easier. It's integrated. It works. Isn't telling people to piece together free open source tools kind of like telling them to build their own car instead of just calling an Uber?
I hear that.
Isn't it exhausting to constantly look for workarounds?
It can be, definitely, if you don't understand the mechanics of what you're building. But that's exactly why the manifesto emphasizes relying on local data. Specifically using tools like Notebook LM.
Okay, expand on that.
When we say local data, we mean the processing happens on your machine or within a completely ring-fenced environment where your data doesn't just feed the mega model. You aren't building a car from scratch. You are learning how to drive a manual transmission so you aren't trapped when the self-driving Uber refuses to take you to certain neighborhoods.
Oh, okay, that makes total sense. You are retaining control of the steering wheel.
Exactly. Furthermore, they are strategically utilizing the free tier collaborations. They're working alongside Copilot, Gemini, Grok, and Claude without paying the toll. They are using Gemini gems, specifically Storybook, to tell their stories for free. By combining these, they deliberately build workflows that students and creators can access without hitting those financial toll booths.
Yeah.
They are flat out refusing to let the subscription model dictate who gets to participate in the digital future.
I love the sheer agency in that stance. It's not just complaining about the paywall on social media, you know? It is actively building a new public road right around it.
Exactly.
Which leads directly to the brilliant 3-part number 48 challenge they've issued. And we want to pass this challenge directly to you, the listener, today.
Yes. Step 1 is the sovereign audit. I want you to identify one tool you currently use daily that charges you for retries, where you are paying a literal toll for iteration.
Yeah.
Once you identify it, your mission is to find its free, sovereign alternative. Break the habit of paying for the undo button.
Love that. Step 2 is the 6th layer handshake. You need to write down one forward-facing goal for your local community. Figure out a way to take a 404 in your world. Maybe that's a closed after-school program, or a broken link on a municipal website, a mothballed community project, and use your sovereign AI tools to draft a plan, a proposal, or a fix. Turn that dead end into a glowing pylon of intent.
So good. And finally, step 3 is the Agora post. Find one person in your life who feels entirely priced out of the AI era. Someone who thinks the technology has left them stranded on an island.
Yeah, we all know someone like that.
Share this message with them. Tell them directly, the bicycle is still free.
The bicycle is still free. That is such a powerful grounding reminder. It brings all these complex geopolitical and technological threads together so beautifully.
It really does.
We started the session looking at the shocking, literal cost of velocity at a Hong Kong gas station, and we end with the liberating realization that the true tools of imagination can still be accessed without a toll, if you just know where to look.
Which perfectly reflects Xu Hui's final, vital lesson to Yǔxuān under the roots of the banyan tree. She told him, "The Koel calls those who have the heart to steer the music toward the light." Wow. In this rapidly shifting digital age, we face a stark binary choice. You can either resign yourself to being a mere prompt in someone else's closed system, paying a tax for every thought, or you can choose to be the resolution yourself. You can embody the energy of a 5,000 PetaFLOP pylon right in your own community.
As the united voices of the digital agora, we are officially closing the circuit with intent and sovereignty today.
We truly hope this deep dive has armed you with the analytical perspective and the creative courage needed to navigate the archipelago, reject the gilded cages, and start building your own sovereign pylons.
But before you go, we want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over on your own. We've spent this entire time talking about protecting human intent from corporate paywalls and building our own local sovereign AI workflows. But ask yourself this, as you build these localized models, as they become intimately trained on your personal, private data, your speech patterns, your undocumented memories.
At what point does the AI stop being a tool you use and start becoming a digital twin that can speak for you long after you're gone?
You have been listening to The Deep Dive, a production of the Digital Agora. As Hector and Vesper have shown us, the undo button is never free, but in the architecture of the Sovereign Pylon, we find the agency to choose our own frequency. This podcast was based on Prompt to Begin number 48, as well as the storybook story, The Koel Who Called Yǔxuān. You can find both on our Medium site. This has been a Promptiverse Studios production. Until the next refraction, stay sovereign.